Robin was the first and remains the most iconic sidekick in comic book history, and there have been a whole bunch of Robins.
How many Robins have there been? 2? 6?
Every Batman fan has their favorite Robin, and you'll have people go back and forth on who's the best or who's the most slept on out of the bunch. So I thought it'd be fun to go over my personal ranking of the Robins from worst to best, going over some of their accomplishments, how they best embody what the Robin mantle represents, and how they have benefited Batman's character and the wider mythos as a whole. A couple of things to point out. 1. I will only be going over each individual's time as Robin. So this is not including Dick Grayson's time as Nightwing or Jason Todd as Red Hood. I'm specifically focusing on the time they spent as Robin under Batman's tutelage. 2nd, I will be going over all of the notable canonical Robins in the post-crisis continuity. To those who might be inclined to ask, where's Carrie Kelly and how come she's not on the list? To simply put, she's not canon. She was never a canonical Bat family member, I'm sorry. Coming in last place at number 5 is Stephanie Brown as Robin. By far the most overlooked and least talked about canonical Robin in post-crisis DC Comics. I think she brings a good bit of levity to the Batman and Robin dynamic and has a fun personality to read. Like any other Robin, she did what she could to the best of her ability and was determined to help Batman in his adventures. Stephanie as a character shines a lot more when she's out and about as Spoiler or her short time as Batgirl right before the New 52 reboot, proving herself to be a very capable crime fighter in her own right. She's more closely associated with Cassandra Cain, Barbara Gordon, and especially Tim Drake, since they had a pretty strong relationship in the pre-New 52 continuity and in the beginning of the Detective Comics Rebirth run. She was never trained by Batman to nearly the same extent as Dick, Jason, Tim, or Damian. Sadly, her tenure as Robin didn't last that long. In the main timeline, she was only Robin for about 49 days before Batman fired her for disobeying a direct order, and her motivations for becoming Robin in the first place were a little iffy, so to speak. Tim Drake's father, Jack Drake, discovered that Tim had been roaming around as Robin and that Batman was Bruce Wayne. Jack threatened to expose Batman's secrets to the police and newspapers if he didn't get back his son Tim, so Tim was inevitably forced to quit being Robin. Stephanie Brown, as Spoiler in the next issue, decides to check up on Tim at his school, only to spot a girl named Darla advancing herself onto Tim to his surprise. Stephanie gets the wrong idea that she's cheating on him, resulting in her making her own Robin costume and barging into the Batcave, demanding that she becomes Batman's new Robin. And for some reason, Batman just accepts her request. He never questions why she wants to be Robin, despite the fact that he previously dismissed her being a vigilante in the first place, claiming she has the potential to be capable under his direct supervision and training, in contrast to Stephanie being on her own as Spoiler. The new dynamic duo were on a mission to track down a serial killer hired to eliminate anyone who matched the physical and age profile of Tim Drake, targeting those suspected of being the former Robin. Stephanie was told to stay put, but she went ahead to help Batman against his orders as she heard he was in trouble over comms. Stephanie would almost immediately get caught in a hostage situation with the killer, which would prompt the killer to escape and have Stephanie tied up to a roof. Since Stephanie broke the rules of her arrangement with Batman, she was fired after only 7 weeks of being the Girl Wonder. Coming in above Stephanie Brown at the 4th spot, I have Jason Peter Todd. Now, before the Red Hood fans start crying, I would like to reiterate that this ranking is solely based on the character's time as Robin. Jason only becoming as beloved as he is now due to his time as Red Hood is not applicable here. Even though Stephanie Brown had the shortest time as Robin, clocking in about 7 weeks of patrol before getting fired, Jason was Robin for the shortest amount of time out of the main 4 people like to have conversations about. After Dick Grayson became Nightwing, Batman stumbles upon Jason trying to steal tires off the Batmobile and takes him under his wing, becoming the second Robin. But according to the official post-crisis timeline, Jason died the same year he was adopted by Bruce and became Robin. Jason's views on justice were informed by his time on the streets, and him being a juvenile delinquent prior to meeting Batman had his rebellious nature making for a more problematic partner. Unlike most of the other Robins, Jason was never a prominent member or even leader of the Teen Titans. He was a part of a Donna Troy-led team that included Roy Harper, Aqualad, Wally West Flash, and Hawk, but he was only involved with the team for about 12 issues before leaving to prioritize being by Batman's side. When Jason came back as Red Hood, he went out of his way to dress in a Robin costume to beat the brakes off Tim Drake and Titan's tower, and was perplexed that there wasn't even a statue of him amongst the fallen Titans in his honor. Brother, you were barely on the team. Like any other proficient Robin, Jason went through months and months of rigorous training before going out on patrol, learning everything from combat to computer science and forensics. Batman saw this as a means of taking in someone who was filled with misguided anger and frustration, channeling those self-destructive tendencies to a more positive goal in crime fighting. His time as Robin never truly helped Jason overcome his feelings of being resentful, moody, and reckless due to his upbringing. Sadly, Jason's legacy is defined more by his death than by his time as Robin, which Jason can't even hold the mantle of the one who tragically died because Damian Wayne died and came back to life in the New 52. Speaking of Damian Wayne, I'm placing him at good old spot number 3. As I'm sure everyone is aware by now, the thing that makes Damian stand out from the rest of the Robins off the bat is the fact that he is the actual biological son of Bruce Wayne and Talia al Ghul, which would in turn cause Damian to believe that it was his birthright to become Robin and eventually take up the mantle of Batman if Bruce were to retire or die. It'd be an understatement to say that the kid was rough around the edges when he was first brought into Batman's world, having been trained by Talia and Masters of the League of Assassins since the age of 3 and was genetically augmented to be a perfect killing machine, not leaving a lot of time for bonding or experiencing a normal childhood. Damian was intentionally created to be this difficult, unlikable character who would gradually grow into someone worthy of his heritage as the son of Batman, proving himself worthy of becoming Robin at his father's side by learning to embrace and embody his father's morals and values. The whole point was to turn him into something special. Damian wouldn't officially become Robin until Dick Grayson took on the mantle of Batman after Bruce Wayne was presumed dead, and Dick decided to not have Tim as his Robin as he considered Tim his equal instead of his protege, noting how it'd be very unwise to leave someone like Damian on his own at this point in his life. Dick and Damian would develop a close brotherly bond as the new dynamic duo, so much so that at a certain point, Damian considered Dick his favorite partner to work with, helping take part in revealing that underneath all that rough exterior was a kid who inherited Batman's courage, determination, and strive to do what's right by others. Damian was unsurprisingly pretty quick to catch on and adopt the necessary skills for crime fighting outside of combat, such as being a skilled detective. Bruce and Damian's relationship didn't start to fully manifest until the start of the New 52, well after Bruce came back as the main Batman and Damian was cemented as the primary Robin going forward. Not only would you see Bruce and Damian's father-son relationship develop, you would also see significant growth in Damian's character leading into DC Rebirth. He's grown far past his arrogant, bloodlusted nature through a long process of accepting his father's moral code and being determined to be a very capable hero, being able to overcome his own instincts and having the opportunity to grow more than Jason did before his death. This is most evident in his experiences over the years, including his role as leader and founder of a Teen Titans team composed of Starfire, Beast Boy, Raven, Kid Flash, and Aqualad. Damian matured into not being this whiny little brat who thinks he's better than everyone else around him. Most of the things people chastise Damian for haven't been emblematic of his character for the past handful of years, and has had more consistent depictions, unlike Red Hood's bitch ass who can't decide on whether or not he'll abide by Batman's no-kill rule and use guns in current continuity.
What'd I do?
Just go to the office!
What'd I do?
Go, just go!
What'd I do?
These last two are pretty much interchangeable in terms of their competency as Batman's partner. I wouldn't really bother arguing with someone who has one Robin over the other, and while he's my favorite overall Bat family character besides Batman himself, at the runner-up I have Richard Grayson. I mean, what can be said about the first Robin that hasn't been said already? The first ever superhero sidekick in comics and the guy who created the Robin identity, the absolute heart and soul of the Bat family, elevating Batman's mythos to unprecedented levels and remaining a prominent figure of the Batman supporting cast since 1940, only a year or so after Batman's first appearance. He's the physical embodiment of Batman's greatest success and was capable of overcoming his grief as a crime fighter better than Bruce ever could, because of Bruce's guidance and teaching Dick everything he knew. As Robin, Dick founded and led the most beloved and popular teen superhero team of sidekicks, becoming a natural leader and team player. Even at a young age, Batman saw the potential of Dick Grayson's leadership abilities, being more socially intelligent than Batman and having a plethora of allies and friendships with other heroes. The perfect contrast to Batman, who brought light to Batman's inner darkness, becoming Bruce's grounding force, while Dick would have a very compassionate and witty personality. When it comes to the version of Robin most general audiences are familiar with, Dick Grayson has the most adaptations out of the bunch. He was the Robin in the 1966 Adam West series, the Robin in the popular Teen Titans cartoon. Some people try to argue that the Robin in that show could have been Tim Drake or something, which is absurd because it's painfully obvious that it's Dick Grayson. Love him or hate him, he was a pivotal part of the Joel Schumacher films, the first Robin in Batman the Animated Series, the Robin in the early 2000s, the Batman cartoon, teaming up with Batman and Barbara Gordon Batgirl. He was the primary Robin of focus in the Young Justice series on Cartoon Network. To most non-comic readers, Dick Grayson is probably the definitive Robin to them, whether they realize it or not. And to add the cherry on top, Dick is also Superman's personal favorite Robin. By process of elimination, the Robin I have at my number 1 spot is Timothy Jackson Drake.
He's the GOAT! The GOAT!
You don't know how long I've had to endure people's takes on Tim Drake as a member of the Bat family. I already have an entire video that you can check out going more in depth defending Tim Drake as Robin because he is highly slept on in almost every regard. Oh, but Tim Drake's the worst Robin. He's the least interesting, just a boring nothing burger of a character.
Oh, so you be just lying and shit, huh?
Personally, I find it hard to believe that DC would promote such a boring character with nothing substantial to offer as their primary Robin for nearly 20 years of publication history, first making his debut as Robin in the year 1990 and maintaining that mantle all the way till 2009 when Damian officially became the Robin to Dick Grayson's Batman. Tim became the first Robin to headline a solo series that surpassed 100 issues, and he remains the only one to have achieved this milestone with no subsequent Robin series approaching that run. If Dick established the foundation for the Robin mantle, Tim elevated it in a more modern setting, bringing a level of maturity and groundedness reflected in his new costume design and relatable character that hadn't been seen in the Robins before him. A lot of Tim's books focused on his personal relationships outside of his superhero life and initially struggling to maintain the balance as a high school student and crime fighter. Tim offers a more analytical mind and technological background to fighting crime, being a computer hacking expert and having a genius level intellect. It's no secret that Tim is the second greatest detective right next to Batman himself, demonstrating his detective skills before he was even a teenager when he discovered the secret identities of Batman and Robin. Even though Tim's intelligence is one of the things that makes him stand out when compared to the rest of the Robins, that doesn't mean he isn't a capable fighter. For some reason, people have the misconception that Tim was never a skilled fighter throughout his tenure as Robin, which is just blatantly false. If you trained under the likes of Batman, Lady Shiva, and Nightwing, you're gonna learn how to throw hands even if you're the weakest out of the bunch. He's still an exceptional martial artist, skilled in combat techniques and strategy, and he was the first of the Bat family to make a bow staff his signature weapon of choice, which other adaptations of Robin who weren't even Tim Drake would adopt in other mediums down the road. Tim's presence plays a vital role in maintaining Batman's sense of self and humanity, as he saw how Bruce was losing himself after the death of Jason, becoming more out of control and reckless. He knew that Batman needed a Robin and initially went to Nightwing to ask him to be Robin again. Nightwing refused, which led to Tim taking matters into his own hands after Batman and Nightwing were captured by Two-Face, proving himself to be a capable Robin after the proper training. Tim also found his way of making friends with other superpowered young heroes like Cassie Sandsmark Wonder Girl, Superboy, and Impulse, becoming a leader and founder of the Young Justice team, as well as becoming a member and leader of the Teen Titans. It's practically tradition for an actual noteworthy Robin to become a member of the Titans at some point. Every Robin is special in their own right and offers something unique that a diverse range of readers and audiences latch onto. No sidekick in comics or any medium will ever come close to the cultural impact. It just isn't feasible. There will always be stories told with this character, going as far as telling both modern stories and tales set in the past, like Dick Grayson's time as the Boy Wonder. Batman and Robin will always remain to be a top-tier duo in fiction, and part of the reason why is the evolution of the characters throughout the decades. But this is just my personal ranking of the Robins from worst to best, based on what I've read and how I've interpreted these heroes and their stories. Maybe it'll change in the future, but as of right now, I think I'm satisfied with the end result.